And we are live. Hello, everyone. I'm
Hello.
Jessper Maquindang, and I am excited to join special guest today, media and business strategist Sheryl Plouffe. And we had a conversation about the future, and we were thinking, how can leaders, managers, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners, you name it, how can we thrive in the year ahead? And we've realized it's the sense of building community, having members and having people and groups, supportive groups around us, that'll be the key to our success. And I know we're streaming on each other's LinkedIn profiles, so we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. Cheryl, I'll pass it over to you. I'd like to know who you serve, how you serve, and why you serve.
Well, thanks so much, Jesper. What a pleasure it is to be here on both of our LinkedIn channels right now to broadcast live today. My name is Sheryl Plouffe. Great to be with you. I am the founder of Sheryl Plouffe Media and co-founder of Icon Maker. And really, we serve coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs who are looking to build 6 and 7 figure businesses through their wisdom and knowledge. And I come from the space of broadcast media. I spent 25 years as a TV broadcaster myself, and now imparting a lot of that knowledge over to members of our community. So, how we serve people through our signature programs. And why we do it is because we believe that small business is really the future of our. Is really the future of our economy, right? And that each of us not only can contribute to the community or to the economy at large, but our own individual economy, meaning the freedom to have choice over our businesses. And so it's really a pleasure to be here with you, Jesper, and to dive into this topic today. So now I'll turn it over to you for your introduction.
Excellent. And for those in Cheryl's audience, my name is Jessper Maquindang, and I'm in the space of company culture. Through FamiLEAD Management Consulting, I help leaders and managers build stronger teams. And I do that through team building activities, leadership development assessments, and executive coaching. And my why, for me, throughout my career, I've supervised employees and led teams, and I've realized firsthand that when you help other people reach their full potential, they will want to help you reach your full potential as well. So that's where I come from, and I really enjoy the work I do.
I love that. Wonderful. Well, this is going to be an exciting topic because, as you pointed out earlier, we were talking and thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a live stream together where we talk about the same topic, but from maybe slightly different perspectives because we're still, we're working with different kinds of people. And so, but one thing that is in common amongst the different people that we serve is the fact that connection is the key in a world that is social media driven, very busy, some might even say saturated. It's a very busy world. And how do we kind of cut through all of that noise and still build what essentially is the foundation of a business or a company, and that is connection?
And as we talk about connection and build this foundation within the entities that we stand for, there are some stats that I wanted to share, and I pulled these from the Harvard Business Review, and just highlighting the importance of connection. For example, the first stat I have, businesses with strong community engagement have 50% to 60% higher retention rates than those without. So members of communities are less likely to abandon it, leading to increased member retention and improved lifetime value. So that is crucial when you're building a loyal customer base. Another stat I'd like to share is that businesses with active communities can achieve 10% to 20% higher gross margins. Such a crucial piece
Mm,
of information for the bottom line. And community members support each other, resulting in high gross margins due to lower cost of service. And the last one I want to share is that employees who feel a sense of community at work are 55% more engaged. And this increased engagement often translates to higher productivity and better overall performance. So, from the
love it.
Harvard Business Review, crucial stats to
Love it.
really
I love
highlight the
it.
importance of building community.
Well, how apropos for the topic that we're about to break down, really. And so each of us is coming to this conversation today with three of our own points. Some of these will really surprise you, so stay to the end because we'll have some that are going to be like, really, like kind of have you leaning in a little bit. So definitely stay tuned for that. Jesper, why don't you kick us off with your first point?
Absolutely. So the first point is why leaders should care about building community in the workplace. There's so much research in leaders really building that sense of belonging, that sense of inclusion, because without it, when you see employees who feel isolated, they're less likely to feel engaged, they're less likely to feel productive, and there's also the chance that they have just this higher sense of quitting. And of course, when you see turnover at an organization, that adds to the cost of training new employees, that adds to the cost of time when you have other employees trying to fill in for the workload that other employee had left behind. That just adds to stress, adds to overwhelm. There's just so much involved when employees don't feel that sense of being part of something. And that's why when leaders do provide that opportunity, they make a team feel like a team. Now, for a leader, you don't necessarily have to call your team a family, but you do have to call your team a team. And to make that happen, a leader has to provide that sense of community and connection to ensure that everyone feels like they are part of a work group where they can all work together, they can all collaborate, they can all innovate, they can share ideas, they can express themselves. When that happens, you're really giving everyone an opportunity to share ideas in how they can get work done together more efficiently, more effectively. That way, everyone's on the same page, there's more clarity. And when a leader provides this opportunity, this community, and this connection to really stay true to what they're standing for, there will be this greater sense of staying focused on their mission, value, and purpose. And there's just so much value a leader can do in bringing this sense of connection to their workplace.
Yeah. You know what I loved about what you just said is that really from the leader's perspective, the what you stand for, I think is the key piece. If a leader can really dive into the what do we believe in, what are we standing for piece and communicate it effectively to their team, then there isn't as much of a sense of that maybe disconnect that some people could feel, especially in larger teams. So yeah, your point is well taken for sure. Um, One of the things that I think about when it comes to connection is leveraging digital platforms, right? Let's talk about digital platforms and community engagement. So these would be things like utilizing digital platforms. It could be, for example, one that's popular is Mighty Networks, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but Mighty Networks. I happen to be a Kajabi person. So there's a community function within the Kajabi CRM. And of course, I'm speaking to this more from the entrepreneurial space, but there are like Circle. That's another good example. School is another one that's made popularized by Alex Hormozy, right? So leveraging digital platforms for community engagement and not just starting and launching it, but engaging within that platform to foster a sense of engagement. And I think that's one of the things that we ought to be thinking more about because social media, online forums, apps, they're all out there. I think where the confusion can sometimes happen is deciding which one to go with. That's a whole other conversation. But choosing a platform where you can foster that kind of community. The one that stands out for me is Slack. We use Slack in our business and with our signature program as really a place where we can do that. But I would also say we also do quarterly, what we call success sprints. We just had one actually this past Saturday. Every quarter, we will endeavor to do a half-day session on a Saturday where everyone comes together live on Zoom together as a community every quarter. We call it Success Sprint. And that's another form of utilizing, in this case, a digital platform like Zoom to come together as a group and be able to have deep conversation over the course of 6, sometimes 7 hours.
Now, with the community platforms that you just mentioned, I've used Mighty Networks and Circle, and it's incredible how easy it is to keep track of other community members' progress and celebrate those wins and milestones that they go through. And you can share your progress as well. And it's just so easy to really keep track of what the great things that everyone's doing within their community. So I see so much value.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, well, I mean, I think about gamification, just rewarding people for taking action and for that sense of engagement can also be really powerful. So, yeah, it's just something to think about as you're endeavoring to really think about connection in 2025. Choose a digital platform and then really dive into all the functionality that's within that tool and try to leverage it to the best of your ability.
Absolutely. And then another key point I'd like to share from my end is the value of creating community with open communication that lets employees feel heard and just having their ideas being shared. And there is so much of an impact when a leader or a manager can make that happen, because when you open up these lines of communication, especially through these digital channels, Zoom, Slack, Microsoft Teams, you name it, when staff members, employees are given the opportunity to share their thoughts, now two things: one, you're getting more perspective into solving problems, and two, you have more ideas for action items to work with. And when you put all this together, you're building a environment where you're innovative, creative, and you see possibilities and you can act on those possibilities. And when everyone has a voice and they feel heard, they'll feel this a greater sense of responsibility and accountability to be part of the process. And when you get everyone working together, linking arms symbolically, that's where you'll see much more progress, much more productivity in the projects and tasks that you have at hand. So, plenty of value when a leader really sets up a community where everyone has that opportunity to express themselves.
And the willingness to listen, the willingness to go there when someone does bring something up, to not downplay their ideas or to question it, but rather to be a good listener. I think that's one of the key aspects of that point that you just made, Jesper, right? Is being willing to listen and having an open mind to all ideas, because you just never know which one will come to the surface. And if you're humble enough as a leader to be able to say to yourself, okay, I don't have all the answers, there are other people who have ideas as well as me. I think when you can find that sense of that sense within you, then it can really be beneficial. I was thinking about what I wanted to bring up secondly on this topic, and I don't think that we can have a conversation about the future of connection and especially talking about 2025 without mentioning, guess what? AI. AI. Right? We
Artificial
have to
intelligence.
go there. We have to go there. And I think when we talk about AI, it's the how do we use AI driven tools and community building, and specifically personalization, right? Like personalization and AI driven community building is really what I wanted to bring. And so this could be in the form of creating engaging I don't know, event pages. It could be email campaigns, writing surveys of your community, analyzing data, personalizing create content creation, any of these aspects that I think AI can touch to bring it to life, so to speak, and to add that sense of personalization is something I think we all ought to be thinking about, and how we're utilizing AI in 2025. Exploring the use of that, enhancing community engagement through content and through experiences. AI tools analyzing member behavior if you have a closed group, but it could also be like your community at large and the public as well. So I think that that's something worth thinking about, is analyze your situation right now and say, how are we utilizing AI? Are we utilizing AI strictly to like write an email? Or are we at a point where we should be diving deeper into its usage and how we're utilizing it to go further? Because it's moving so rapidly right now. We're moving to, we have AI, and now, we're looking at AGI and all these different um, these pushes toward the next thing, and it's only going to get faster, and we have to stay ahead of the curve. So I don't know, Jesper, how much you're using AI. Are you using it a lot in your business as it is?
So, for artificial intelligence, what I appreciated about it is the ability to really help you expand on your thoughts. So, for example, if you wanted to come up with team building activities, you can ask ChatGPT, what ideas do you have? And then within those ideas, you can you can dig in deeper to see what specific steps it can provide to actually implement those activities into the workplace or with your team or at a retreat. There are opportunities with artificial intelligence that you can use as a way to gain more insight and perspectives. That way, if there was something you hadn't thought about, perhaps AI could come up with that idea as you build your community and the steps you can take in making these happen.
Yeah. And one way of thinking about it, I just read Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Day Trading Attention, recently. And in it, he talks about how he uses AI as a thinking partner. And I love using it that way. So if we're speaking about connection and community building, think of AI as being your community building thinking partner, that you can utilize it that way as you endeavor to do that in 2025.
Excellent. And another point I wanted to share from my end is steps that leaders can take to really create a positive and supportive work environment in the workplace. And at this point, the answer has already been clear. I would say build a community. But expanding on that, really for a leader, manager to take the time and effort to one, schedule intentional meetings with your staff members. And instead of going through the regular status updates, that's still important. You want to know what everyone's up to and to ensure everyone's making progress. But you really want to make sure you know how your employees are doing. In addition to hearing, for example, let's say you were at a one-on-one, instead of saying, Jessper, what are you currently working on? You want to say, Jessper, how's the family? How are your pets? How's everything going for you? Because it really opens up the door to really understanding who your team members are. And when you open up that door, you really get a sense of what drives them, what are they passionate about, what gets them excited. When you have these types of conversations, now you see your employees, staff members, your people as human beings. And that really opens that opportunity to foster that real sense of connection, because you're not just solely focused on one specific project or task. You see the full picture of who the person is, what they're capable of, and how they can contribute to the workplace. So there's just so much potential available when you open those doors to really connect and let people be people. And with that, being a great listener and just having these opportunities for other people to express themselves in the workplace,
Yeah.
such great value for a leader and manager when they build community.
Yeah, and I think it's spending time to talk to people, spending that time to be inquisitive and to ask questions and to remember details about the personal lives of the people that make up your team. And depending on how big your team is, that could be a challenge, right? So finding ways, whether that's getting back to your office and writing notes in a notebook about your, the personal lives of your people so that you can remember for the future. But as time goes on and, you're going to get to know people and just remember what is going on in their lives. And so whether that's positive, negative, I mean, life isn't always a bed of roses, and there could be difficult things that your people are going through. Probably just as important to know the good and the bad that's happening within the lives of the people that you lead. It kind of ties in a little bit, Jesper, to my last point, which is this idea of inclusivity and purpose-driven communities, and to creating those types of work, or sort of those entrepreneurial environments or community environments. Addressing that shared purpose is, I think, really key. That everyone's on the same page, that we're all rowing in the same direction, right? And there are different ways that you can do that by encouraging open and respectful communication, a clear mission. Like if you're, let's say, in a program, for example, like what's the mission of the endeavor or the program that you're in? Regularly seeking feedback from members as well. It kind of ties into your last point, being inquisitive and wanting to know the answer, like how things are going, even if you think the answer might not be pleasing to your ears. It's like you need to hear it, right? You need to hear what's working and what isn't working as well, so that you can endeavor to fix it. So I think that creating inclusive and purpose-driven communities is one of the key things to think about. I mean, that's always been paramount, but especially as we move into 2025, the world's only getting busier, and social media being what it is, it's awesome to be able to communicate through those channels. But one can argue that social media has made our world has made it more divisive, right? And not to mention the political landscape as well, very divisive. And so social media has its place, but at the same time, to counterbalance that, the idea of coming together in community and building connections is probably more paramount now than ever before.
And you brought up an excellent point with purpose, the why. With everything going on in the world, when there's a sense of direction and clarity, that just makes it easier for people to follow a movement. And especially when a leader or entrepreneur, business owner, when they foster this sense of community and there's that clarity and purpose behind it, it makes it much more likely for people to follow.
Yeah, 100%. So I hope that was helpful to have this conversation, and maybe some food for thought for you as you endeavor to, build your community and build those connections, whether it's through your company or whether it's through your business. We hope that having this conversation today is helpful and gave you some food for thought.
So as we wrap up, I wanted to two things. Wanted to let our audience know how they can connect with us, and we encourage everyone to connect with us on LinkedIn. And second thing, before we go, Sheryl, were there any final pieces of advice that you'd like to share with our audiences?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to get to know you a little bit better, as well as we sort of cross-reference our communities here. But what I would say is that there are many ways. We've touched on 6 today, ways to build community and build connection. Clearly, there are more than that. But what we want you to take away from this conversation is the importance of doing so, the importance of giving thought to how are we as a company or as a business building and fostering that sense of community.
Absolutely. And then I would add to that, I would say to be an effective leader, if you don't have a community, if you don't have followers, that misses out the entire definition on itself. A leader leads, and you need followers. And to make that happen, you have to build a sense of community. So,
Indeed. This has been fun, Jessper. So great to connect with you and to do this with you on a Wednesday evening where I am anyway.
thank you, Sheryl. So excited to join you again today. And for everyone out there, thank you again for joining us. And we hope to connect with you soon.
Cheers.